Hey there, everybody. Alongside Spencer Carbery, I'm John Walton. Welcome to Coach's Corner, brought to you by Capital One. Coach, great to see you, first of all, and about a month into the offseason here. How is the offseason treating you, first off?
It's been really good. It's been, I get to be a dad and a husband and been able to take the kids to school in the morning. We've done some family things, which has been nice over the last couple of weeks. Still wrapping up postseason meetings and sort of tying a bow on last season and working through that, but almost finished with that, so it's been good thus far.
What is the day-to-day like for you here now that you've gotten into the offseason? You mentioned the meetings, and obviously the routine is a lot different from the frantic pace of the regular season and the playoffs. What's it like for you now day to day?
Well, once you sort of get over that initial, it takes a little bit. Your season ending abruptly and coming to grips with that, then you start to get into diving into reflection. How did we get to where we got? What do we do well? What can we do a better job of? And having those conversations and those discussions and meetings with our staff, with players, with management. And that's what you get to work on, especially with the players being in town and being able to have those face-to-faces, and then some of those conversations move on through the summer.
Once you've had that time and looking back on the season as a whole, a playoff team, not what you wanted in the postseason perhaps, but to make the playoffs in your first year and to develop a lot of the guys that you did, what was your overall feeling now that you've had some time to reflect on the season as a whole?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot, and it's really hard for me to, when you're not one of those last, 2 teams or 4 teams playing, it's tough to watch and it's tough to come to grips with that because we're so competitive and you want to be there, but you also have to be realistic and take a step back and look at the big picture and where we are as a team and as an organization, and that's where I think you get to spots where it was a really positive year overall for our entire group, and with all the different obstacles that we maneuvered through from a roster standpoint, with now our roster starting to turn over and become a lot younger and starting to lose some of those veteran players that have been such a big part of this organization for so many years. Nick Backstrom, Kuzi moving on, all those different things. And then what we do at the deadline of trying to acquire more assets to get younger and build for the future. So when you take all of that stuff into account, I think that's where you get to a spot where there was a lot of positives from where our group started at the beginning of the year to where we were able to finish.
On the subject of the younger guys and the kids, and a guy like Connor McMichael and Henrik Slotbier, whose season continues in Hershey, and I want to ask about the Bears in a little bit too, but just the guys who took that step, started from October coming out of camp through getting playoff time.
Yeah.
Connor had a great moment in the postseason. Henrik's had a great moment in the postseason, learning to score more goals. What was your assessment of the younger guys who were able to step up and start to fill some of those roles?
Well, the first thing that, you're really happy and proud of the job that they were able to do, be impactful players in the National Hockey League and help a winning team, a playoff team, get to where we got. But the biggest thing that I look for in young players is growth. You want to see them continue to build and get better. And that's probably the one thing that I look back on. And they're thrown into some roles, and this is where I'll get to maybe the second part of this, and playing the minutes, playing special teams that not a lot of young players, unless you're in certain situations in the National Hockey League, get. And so in order to, you're going to be given this opportunity, you got to make the most of it, and you got to continue to get better. And that's what I thought a lot of our young guys did this year, whether it was Lappy at certain points, Connor McMichael, Protos did an incredible job of just building his year and felt like he got better and picked up on the things that we were trying to ingrain into his game. So that's really, really positive. Now, for those guys, especially, the challenge is now, how do you do that and continue to build on that to become an even better player and not just sit on, because the reality is on this team, and as we try to build to get better, to be back to becoming a true Stanley Cup contender, it's going to only get more difficult. And that's those young players' challenges to continue to build their individual game.
Whether it's the young guys or the veterans on the team, how much communication is there during these off-season months with any of the guys, whether it's the goalies, whether it's the defensemen, the forwards? How much communication is there?
You try to give them their space because it is a grind and it's a long year. So you don't want to be in their ear every week. Hey, how was the training going? Like, you want to give them their space and their opportunity to unwind and decompress and go back home and enjoy time with the family. As they start to, there's some good conversations postseason. And then there's just certain check-ins that, call it monthly, depending on where players are at and where they live. And the initial meetings after the year, those are the most important, because there's two things that I like to accomplish in them. One is you talk about and get opinions, thoughts there through their eyes. Because we talk, the coaches, management, we talk at the players, or here's what we see. What do you see? What went well for your season? What didn't go well? What did you want to do a better job of? Where did you feel like you hit stumbling blocks for years? So getting their thoughts and what they saw and what we can do better as coaches in an organization. And then we give them feedback on, here's the areas where we feel like your game needs to grow. They can take that information, and then it's all on them to go back and do the necessary work, or put the necessary work in over the summer.
We talked a lot about some training camp forward, about how much the Calder Cup championship for the Bears last year meant to guys like McMichael, Pierre Malenstein, etc.
Yeah.
There we go again, into the conference finals, Final Four in the AHL, and for Henrik Lapierre, a chance to do it again. For others, a guy like Ethan Frank and others, there are going to be opportunities. Now, how much are you following along, first of all? And second of all, how exciting is it that potentially a second wave going into training camp, that these guys may get some of those opportunities again, like a lot of guys got last year?
Yeah, following very closely and the job that they've done all year, the coaching staff down there, the players, and how impressive of a season that they've had, number one, through the regular season, but also as they continue to roll and hopefully on to the Calder Cup finals for a second year in a row. I think it's talked about it last year. It's certainly not the be-all, end-all, but it is a great springboard for some of these young players to continue to play in highly competitive games where there's so much at stake, and that only helps your development to learn how to play in those situations, to learn how to play in a tight game where your season's on the line and every puck touch becomes important, every read coming back into the D zone becomes important, and that's what you saw the Beck Malensteins of the world. I'll just use him as an example. He plays in the Calder Cup, wins the Calder Cup last year, and comes in. This was his first year. I know he's been here for parts of 3 years. Playing in those games just helps prepare him for a full season in the National Hockey League like he just played. So it's a great opportunity for all the guys, like you mentioned. Hunter Shepard, once again, a good opportunity for him. And Lappy and a lot of the players to go play in very meaningful games once again.
Business of hockey goes year-round. There's still a lot of things happening between the NHL draft is coming up, development camp going to be here in early July. The business of the game, how much are you looking forward to, and how much are you involved, I guess, with some of the things, free agency, how much communication with Brian McClellan and hockey operations as those events start to come down the line here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, we have a lot of good, clear communication lines with management and the coaching staff, and our thoughts, opinions, ideas. They certainly have their department and do an incredible job there, but am definitely involved in those conversations and where we go in certain situations and what we are projecting, what we see from a lineup standpoint, progression of players. So there's a lot of healthy, clear lines of communication with that.
Well, Spencer, it's great to see you here. I hope you enjoy the summer and the business side, the personal side as well. Have some fun, and look forward to seeing you when we get this thing going back in the fall. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much. Looking forward to it.
All right. Spencer Carbery, today's Coach's Corner, brought to you by Capital One.